Hello and welcome back. Here we are again at the Awe Podcast Station.
Wow. We're on episode number 11, and I think that just blows my mind.
Double digits.
Right. We're past it, right? We're going to be angry teenagers before you know it.
I'm already there.
Right. We settled in and rebellious.
Here we are, yes.
But anyway, we got to talk about gratitude today. And, gratitude is a way of showing appreciation. It helps us really to pause for a moment and to savor those things we have. It's that feeling of awe. It's different than the title of our podcast. It's this feeling of awe and being almost humbled by those things around us, right? It inspires humility. And really its essence, I think its essence is really human connection and bringing that out in us.
Nice.
Because it helps us to appreciate those things about each other. Yeah.
I love the term essence.
Yeah. How about that?
Put me right into a good flow here, I'm hoping,
Sure.
Josh. And so then here I come
Sure.
with this general definition. And, when we start out the podcast, I like to be specific in terms of the definition so that it gives us a good guide, if you will, on where we're going. So I'm
Right.
going to go with what I found at skillsyouneed.com in terms of the definition for gratitude, because it made
Awesome.
me feel sort of what you were describing. And gratitude is a warm feeling of thankfulness towards the
Yes.
world or even towards specific individuals. And a person who feels gratitude is thankful for what they have and does not constantly seek more. And that kind of just gave me that warm and fuzzy feeling.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
thank you, skillsyouneed.com.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes what people have already said is so inspiring, and we had people distracting us in the other room just to be transparent.
Which we are so grateful for.
Right,
We're
we
grateful
are.
for the support.
Yes, it's amazing. So that warm feeling, that almost shifts our mindset, right? And especially when we practice it, and that's something that maybe sounds strange to some of the listeners, but practicing gratitude really helps us shift our mindset. And we had a TEDx event on campus today, and one of our speakers, the last speaker, I believe, talked about how he put a message of like asking for people to leave a message of what they're grateful for on his voicemail, and then tell him what they needed, basically. And he said it's just been so inspiring, the messages that he's received, right?
Yeah.
And, I think that's where that essence, again, of human connection comes in.
Yeah, and again, we could tie this back to one of the episodes we did previously about mindset. But yeah,
Right.
To call somebody and, almost you might get a sense of, you might be upset if somebody doesn't answer the phone, depending on why you're trying to contact them. But then to have that voicemail and have
Right.
that idea, that inspiration, like you said, hey, what are you grateful for, right? Completely change your mindset.
It does, yeah. And
Yeah.
he says it kind of can shift people who are potentially, disgruntled, if you will, or not in the best of moods, can shift their mood to be in a more constructive mood, which I think is just so powerful because it puts us in that space of humility and the state of feeling in awe of those people around you who are just so genuinely human, and that connects right to authenticity.
It does. And, you said it is difficult. Sometimes we might find it difficult to think of how we practice gratitude. And, we've talked about goals throughout this podcast. And for me, it didn't even dawn on me, right? Reading is one of my goals. Reading more is what I want to do and what I've been trying to do. But I read every day.
Right.
And part of this is practice towards gratitude for me because I read, they're daily readers, right? So it has a date, a passage, if you will, for each day.
Neat.
And it's a meditation on some level.
Right.
But I start and end my day with these readers. I have
Wow,
4
cool.
different books,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
may be a little much, but I need a lot of practice.
That's fantastic, yeah.
And so they're various books, right? But these are experiences from other people, like you said, and practicing that and hearing what it is that they are sharing, their essence, if you will, right?
Right.
And how it can remind me, as somebody who I will admittedly say I'm very ungrateful, how I can practice being grateful and where does that
Right.
gratitude come in? So I start and end my day with that.
Right.
Practicing gratitude. Yep.
And it's powerful. I mean, it's there's lots of research of how it does shift our mindset. That's published in peer-reviewed journals of how powerful a tool gratitude can be, and especially when we practice it like that. Now, when we practice gratitude, it's important for us not to get in the rut, if you will, of being grateful for the same things every day. Right? Because then it doesn't have that power that brings out that essence of awe within us.
And I think that's another good point. And for me, not being grateful for the same things. And again, like I said, I'm admittedly very ungrateful. But what I found that I have been trying to do recently is say, I'm so grateful, right? But I only do it in moments when maybe something not so great has happened. What I should be doing, like what you've alluded to, is when there are positive things, different positive things, maybe not such big things, is also reminding myself that I'm grateful for those instead of waiting for something to be in a negative light and then reminding myself that I'm grateful, but actually saying that I am grateful for those other things that are positive.
Right. And I think what I mean by the rut and things is making sure it's an authentic thing that we're grateful for.
Right.
Because sometimes if we get stuck in, oh, I'm glad the sun is shining, or I'm grateful the sun is shining, or I'm grateful that, I was able to open my eyes today, and that's just a surface level, real shallow gratitude. It's when we look for those things in the day, like, man, it was so helpful when you came over this morning and checked in on me. I'm so grateful for that, right? Because it brings that connection out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another good point. Yeah, not such a surface level. And that's kind of what I have been doing, right? It's like, okay, I'm just so grateful for this. It's just a surface thing. There's no actual deeper meaning when I'm doing that. And so that practice, if you will, has not really been the best way to tackle my gratitude.
Right. And it's connected, that authentic, and I can get stuck in those ruts too, right? Where we almost are the surface level, you might call it fake, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. That's not a deep gratitude because it's not connected to action, right? Mm-hmm. And if we can say thoughts, words, and deeds, if all that can match up, then it all has power and impact. I can remember we started this, and we should get back to it again too. And in my relationship with my wife is ending the day of something that we were grateful about. It could have been about each other or something of the day, but it really, built some intentionality into our day and said, hey, we are going to connect on this level. And if we can connect it to each other, but sometimes it's about, thank you for, picking up the kids today when I was running late. It means so much to me when we can support each other like this, right? Yeah. It builds that connection.
Yeah. And building connection, yes, but also acknowledging, because, that's empathy, because, know what that's like too, right? To be the one that is picking up the kids and maybe not getting that, hey, thanks for that, right? And so, it's that whole, there's several facets of practicing that.
For sure. But it is an important practice for us to build gratitude, right? And then it leads into us when we're practicing a meaningful, very authentic gratitude practice. It's going to build empowerment. It's going to build well-being, of course, too, right? And it's a lot of times related to this aspect of savoring that we talked about, right?
Another good word. Essence and savoring.
Essence and savoring. How about that? All in the name of gratitude, right? Yes. And I think they're kind of like almost sexy words, right? But they're just beautiful in their depth and their meaning, right?
Yeah, they draw you in.
Yes. And that's what gratitude does.
Yes.
I think it does. So I can remember, and to bring savoring alive and the power of savoring, right? So I'm I'm sick with COVID, and actually that's how, I started down the path of my new role that I'm in now. I was sick with COVID, and a colleague called me and, told me about a new opportunity, and one thing led to another, and I started a new role. But when I lost my sense of taste and smell, I could still, like, I don't know, eat a chicken nugget and or a cheese curd, right? And it's like I could almost imagine the taste, even though I couldn't taste it, and it really frustrated me, right?
Yeah, it's terrible.
But, I had such a powerful connection to food, I think, right? And that's, where this physical well-being goal comes in too, is like not giving quite as much meaning to that, but then building it into the physical well-being routines and things like that. But when our brain can savor something, it's like it appreciates it, right?
Absolutely.
And when that taste was ripped away with COVID, brutally.
Awful.
Yeah, right. I remember like going up and tapping my wife on the shoulder, like, I can't taste my coffee, and I didn't taste my toothpaste just now. Like, something's going on here.
Yeah.
But when it's taken away, you understand how much you appreciate those things, right?
Absolutely.
And same thing goes with gratitude. The more we can savor it, and yes, the realm of senses in terms of taste really makes sense here, because it's like we can taste it and it gives us that full experience,
Yeah.
right? Rather than just imagining it. But yeah.
That's a great example. And dang it, COVID, yes. I also lost my taste, so I relate there. And I speak to this as well. Gratitude is the catalyst to help savor experiences more richly. So Josh, excellent. Nice work. Not that you need my approval, but fantastic. And
well, thank you. Yes, I do appreciate it, because sometimes these things are coming to me and I'm banging away on the keyboard and I'm like, I don't know what this matches. I'm going to send it over to LaShawna and get some approval. So that's how gratitude is powerful too.
Did great. And we come to a place after experiencing the ending of maybe a relationship, right? Or some sort of loss, like you're alluding to, taste and, but it could be anything in terms of a loss, right? So materialistically or otherwise. And, I don't talk about this with very many people, but several years ago, I went to Chicago. I have lived in Iowa my entire life, and I went to Chicago several years ago chasing love. And the scariest thing I had done in my life up to that point. And wow. Yeah, I went after love, right? I took a risk and I did it. And then it didn't go well. And I lost it. I lost that relationship. I lost that love. But more than that, when I left Chicago, because I came back here, right? I came back with the clothes that I had on my back. So I lost all of my clothes, all that materialistic stuff. And I lost my dignity. But that loss, right, and those experiences put me in a place where I can now savor, and I am more grateful for things. I learned, that I never again want to be at the whim of another person's choices. And in that particular instance, that's what I had done. I had put myself in that situation, right? And so I came out of that, and I am so grateful for that experience. It was awful.
I can only imagine. Yeah. Wow.
I took a bus back. It was just, it was very humbling for me. And, but I have been very grateful. I have gratitude around that experience because of what I learned in that moment, in that space. I learned a lot of gratitude about my family, about being from Iowa and the things that it had given me. And I didn't know that until I had experienced that loss and that really ugly stuff.
Yeah, it really helps us build connection between things too, and what is most important and what really does drive our purpose, right? It's not material things or people or things that don't support us, right? It's those things that build meaning, right? And people can build meaning, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's a vulnerable place for us to be in because we're not really quite sure if that relationship will do that for us. And you risked everything, right? So that's a brave thing too, right?
You know, looking back, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, when I was riding that bus, just in my outfit, and that was all I had, I was not feeling brave. I was feeling, very, like I said, weak. Like I'd lost my dignity, all of those things, and it took me a while, of course, but yeah, grateful, grateful.
So grateful. Makes us really brings out that savoring aspect, right? Of when we lose something so that we've taken maybe for granted, right?
Yes.
It really holds it near and dear, like just having that space to be able to savor it to that depth, right?
Yeah.
And that richness. Yep.
Yes. It's a pretty rich experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That catalyst, the gratitude is the catalyst that helps us save our experiences more richly, right? Yeah. And looking back, right, I can imagine the feelings that you had in that experience and how those feelings would not support this statement in the moment, right?
No,
like
I was gonna die.
Yeah, right.
I cried and heaved, and it was just awful. It was awful, and so no, I would never at that moment have told you or projected that I would be sitting across from you on a podcast in this educational awareness and all this setting. No. Oh my gosh.
Wow. It's powerful because it's the first time I've heard this story. And
it's not because I couldn't think of, I've never thought of a way to what my lessons have been from that.
Right.
And so that's why I said this is a powerful topic, because I was able to reframe that, right? I've learned many, many things from that whole relationship, that event, all of those things. But yeah, how I am grateful and the gratitude that I have gained from that and who I've become, right?
Right.
With that experience.
Yeah. And usually, we're in that low point and we're like, what's the purpose of this, right? What is all this craziness suck about, right?
Yes. You've described it pretty well.
Yeah. So if you're in that spot, right? If you are in that spot and you're able to hear this message, one day, like, we can come back and look on some of these things and really be grateful for the things that we have and taken for granted, because that really builds connection to those things, right?
It does. Yeah. And like you just said, people are going through that. People have gone through that. People will go through that. I'm sorry. This is how some of these things in life works. But again, the gratitude to be able to sit in that space with that individual, those individuals, and say, you know what? I get it.
Right.
I'm sorry. I get it, though.
Right.
That's another piece of gratitude is, not that you always have to have an experience to be able to relate to an individual, but it certainly helps. Like we talked about a little bit ago with empathy. Right?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I had taken things for granted, like you said, especially in terms of my clothing. It's materialistic. But when I came back from Chicago, I had nothing.
Right.
No clothes, right? People might say I have a problem now because I like to buy clothes. But I'm extremely grateful for my clothes.
Yeah. And to have that opportunity.
There you go. Yes, the process of earning the income to be able to do that, to purchase those and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Amazing. So it really, gratitude helps us build resilience, right?
Yes.
When we go through an event for the first time, the next time we go through a similar event, we're able to have a little bit more resilience because of those experiences that we can draw on, right? And they are the richest when we experience them ourselves, but sometimes we can learn from other people.
Absolutely.
And that empathy is that pathway to learning the depth of that gratitude, right? Sometimes we see someone else really close to us lose something, and like, wow, we should really hold our children closer, or we should hold our things like having a roof over our head a little bit with more meaning, right?
And that's a great example, especially holding our children a little closer, because sadly, as we know, right, people lose their children every day. And so, yes, that is a huge moment of gratitude
Right.
for me as a mom. I've mentioned my children before, and I think I mention them generally as brats. and
Right.
so, again, reflecting on that and saying,
Yeah.
how grateful I am to have them, because I have them.
Right.
And
Right. To be able to call them brats.
yes,
Right.
yes, and to have those
Yeah,
moments of,
yeah.
ugh, there's the crack in the door. They saw it, and they're coming. They're coming through. All
Right.
those things we've joked about in previous episodes.
Yeah.
But the truth is how grateful I am to have them. They're
Right,
still here with
right.
me. I still have the ability to pick the phone up and call them. Those types of things. So yes, we can learn from others that way.
Yeah, yeah, certainly, certainly. And then for people who have experienced the unthinkable loss of a child too, right? And yes, I've had the opportunity to talk to people who have lost their children, and
Yes.
just the level of gratitude they have for if they have children still with them, and that relationship, or just so much they hold dear to what they did have with their children, right?
Yes.
So, gratitude really does help us savor those things a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And it builds that resilience, right?
Yep.
It helps us, in our low points, when we can see things that we're grateful for, it helps us to imagine what tomorrow's going to look like, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we're so low, we don't even know if it's really worth it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than shifting to that practice of gratitude and saying, what if?
Right.
What if things could be better?
Yeah, and if you are in a place where you're feeling so low, as Josh had mentioned, please reach out to somebody, right? Reach out to somebody and let them know that you're feeling that way. You don't have to offer any other information. Just say, what, I'm really not feeling great, and I need some help, right? So please
Right.
do that. The other thing about that resilience piece, and I'm going back to the Chicago thing here, when I was thinking about this in general and sharing the story, that relationship that I lost, and I think about who I was, and I think of myself, even though I was, in terms of age, a woman, right?
Yeah,
Legally
right.
a woman. But if I think back to who I was like a young girl, naive, and to go back and talk to her now, right? So resiliency, oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a springboard for me, because again, one outfit on my back, what I was wearing, to now I am a master level clinician. It's yeah,
That's
resiliency.
humbling, right?
Yeah.
Put you in that space of awe, like from that little human that was a woman, right? Naive, to where you are today with all this rich experience.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Yep.
powerful. And I'm grateful.
Right. Grateful.
That is gratitude. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I can say the same, with I haven't been through an experience like that, but some of those lower experiences where you don't know really what tomorrow's going to look like, or how is it even possible to think about tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And how looking back on those times and saying, wow, to be able to think about tomorrow in 5 years and have goals and talk about them on a podcast. What the world?
Oops, surprise. Yeah.
How about that? Yeah. Wow. Yes.
So hang on. If you're in that and you're feeling that, you can do this. Yeah.
You got this.
You got
All right.
this.
It's time for our goals now, Lashana.
All right. So I shared a little bit about reading, right? I didn't even consider that initially. That is reading. I read every day.
For sure.
Beginning
Yeah. And that's growth too, right? Because you're reading for growth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. But I am doing that. But the book I talked about in the last episode, I finished it.
Hey.
I finished it. I'm nowhere near my number, the goal that I set in terms of numbers, but I finished 2 books now.
You have, yes.
So,
you're on a roll.
So yeah.
Fantastic.
Asserting myself, I think I'm doing that in baby steps. There's a couple areas in where I wish I would have done a better job last week, but I'm reflecting on that. And so that is growth. Yeah. But I am asserting myself more and more as well.
Yeah.
How about
yes,
you,
you are.
Josh?
You are. And again, I get to watch this, and it's amazing, right?
Frightening.
A lot of what we get done and accomplished in a day is because of Lashana. So it's incredible.
Team effort.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're a great team. So exercising regularly, a big development there. I've been finding this time, the sweet spot of time where I can go, and I think I mentioned it last time. I go to the basement and I walk right after we eat supper or dinner, whatever you want to call it in the Midwest. I think I call it supper. Now that you're sufficiently confused, join me back in my
done.
goal, right? Right. But I've been finding, a good solid 40 minutes to walk, and I've been doing about 1.5 miles every day I can.
Awesome.
And I would say I get 4 days at least.
Josh
a
is
week.
doing better than I am in walking, which is great for him, but I need to revisit my goals because I'm not hitting that. So good for you, Josh.
Thank you. And yeah, the eating healthy is going pretty well too, right? And those are things that I was not good at, and I would fall off the routine really quickly. So it's been empowering to find that time and be like, you know what, it doesn't have to be in the morning. It can be this time or that time, and just doing what works.
Nice.
Let me see. So for meditating, I would say consistently 3 days a week, but I want to do more than that, right? Because it doesn't make a difference every day, but consistently 3 days a week. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. All right. So I think that sort of wraps us up for today. So join us next week as we discuss rejection. Ooh.
Way to end on a high note.
Right. From gratitude to rejection. But, of course, the pathway to building resilience, like we talked about today, is gratitude. So join us next week as we talk about rejection. This is Josh.
And Lashana.
Stay authentic, well, and empowered.